I trusted my brother with everything after Dad died, including handling the $320,000 inheritance. But he bought a house with it in his name, claiming it was for both of us. Years later, I found a letter in my mother's drawer that turned my world upside down. The boy I thought was my nephew. He's actually my son. What came next tore the family apart. My name is Eric Malone. I'm 38, and until a few months ago, I thought I knew my family. I was wrong. It all started when Dad died of a heart attack in 2019. He was 67, retired Navy, and stubborn as hell till the end. We weren't rich, but Dad had a modest house in Sacramento, some stocks, and a savings account altogether about $320,000. After the funeral, my older brother Gavin suggested he handle the legal stuff. Said it'd be easier since I was still working nights at the hospital as an ER nurse. I trusted him stupidly, as it turned out. I'll take care of everything, little bro. You'll get your half when it's sorted, Gavin promised, sipping his beer in Mom's kitchen. Gavin had always been the golden child, charming, athletic, never in trouble. He married young, had a son, Liam, and got divorced before he turned 30. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, still single, no kids, always working. 6 months after Dad passed, I asked Gavin about the money. He said he used part of it as a down payment on a house for both of us. I didn't understand. Wait, you bought a house? Yeah, bro. Real estate smart. I put it in my name for tax reasons, but it's ours. You can move in anytime. I was stunned. No papers. No agreement. Nothing in my name. I didn't move in. Something felt off. 3 years later, in April 2023, I stopped by Mom's house to fix her bathroom sink. She's 64, still living in the same faded blue house she and Dad bought in the 80s. While grabbing a wrench from the hallway closet, I noticed a stack of old mail shoved behind a shoebox. Curious, I pulled it out. Mostly junk until I found an envelope with my name on it in Dad's handwriting. Inside was a letter dated June 10, 2019, a month before he died. Eric, if you're reading this, something went wrong. I made sure both you and Gavin get equal shares. Do not let him talk you into anything without proof. The lawyer's name is on the fridge, Samuel Gray. Trust him, not your brother. I'm proud of you. Dad. My stomach dropped. I stood there, letter in hand, heart pounding. Gavin hadn't just made a sketchy decision, he lied. I went straight to Mom's kitchen. The fridge still had that crusty magnet with the lawyer's card under it. I called the number. The next morning, I sat across from Samuel Greer in his office. He was in his 70s, sharp as ever. You should have come sooner, he said. Your father made it clear the inheritance was split 50-50. Gavin insisted you were donating your share for the house. I nearly blacked out. Can we sue? I asked. Greer nodded slowly. You can, but it'll cost you, and it'll destroy your family. At 2:47 a.m. that night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation with Gavin since Dad died. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Gavin. You poking around, Eric? My fingers hovered over the screen. I didn't reply. Instead, I stared at that one sentence. You poking around, Eric? It wasn't concern. It was a warning. My morning, I had made up my mind. I wasn't letting it slide anymore. Evan didn't just cheat me out of $160,000, he took our father's last wishes and spat on them. The next day, I drove to the house Gavin bought for both of us. It was a sleek 2-story place in Folsom, beige stucco, big front yard, a Dodge Ram in the driveway. Liam was out front shooting hoops. He was 15, now tall, wiry, same dark eyes as Gavin. Or maybe mine. I'd always been close with Liam. He clung to me more than to his own dad when he was younger. But lately, something about him made me pause. Uncle Eric, he grinned, jogging over. I smiled back, but my stomach churned. Hey bud, your dad home? Inside, on a call, wanna shoot around? I nodded. We played for a bit. Every now and then, I'd glance toward the front door. When Gavin finally walked out, he looked irritated, like he already knew why I was there. You seriously gonna start drama over this now? He said, arms crossed. You lied, Gavin, I said, low and steady. Dad left us equal shares. That house isn't mine. It never was. His face didn't flinch. You had no interest in the money, Eric, you told me that. No, I said I didn't care yet. I was grieving. I trusted you. He stepped closer. You want your half, fine. Sell the house. You'll get your money. But you'll also evict me and Liam. You really want to do that to your nephew? That punch landed harder than I expected. I didn't answer. Just turned and walked back to my car. Later that night, Mum called. Gavin told me you're threatening him over money, she said sharply. Is that true? I'm not threatening anyone. I'm asking for what Dad left me. There was a pause. Then I don't want this family torn apart, Eric. You know Gavin's been through so much with the divorce and raising Liam. Always Gavin. Always the excuses. I didn't argue. I just said goodnight. But something else started gnawing at me. The way Gavin used Liam as a shield. as guilt, and the way Mom defended him again. That weekend, I visited an old friend of mine, Jasmine, who used to work at the county clerk's office. She owed me a favour. I need to know who signed off on the estate. I think my brother forged something, I told her. She hesitated, then pulled up some files. After 20 minutes of digging, she found something odd. Look at this, she said, pointing to the screen. There was a signature from Mio on a form waiving my claim to Dad's assets. Only I never signed that. My ears rang. Can you print that? I asked. She nodded, quietly. As I left the building, gripping the paper in my hand, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a voicemail. From Liam. Hey Dom, I found something in my dad's drawer. It's got your name on it. You should probably see it before he finds out I touched it. I met Liam the next morning behind the Folsom Library. He'd ridden his bike there, hoodie up, looking nervous as hell. What is it? I asked, trying to sound calm. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a crumpled envelope. It was in Dad's locked drawer. I picked it open with a hairpin. Don't tell him I know how to do that. He cracked the quick, guilty smile. I took the envelope. It was unmarked, yellowed at the edges, and sealed with tape. Inside were two things. A notarized paternity acknowledgement form. A handwritten letter from my ex, Alyssa. I hadn't seen or heard from Alyssa in over 15 years. We dated in college. She and Gavin hooked up once after she and I had broken up, supposedly. I remember being furious back then, but eventually let it go. She moved away. Gavin stayed. Life rolled on. The letter was dated October 2008. Liam had been born July 2009. My hands shook as I read. Eric, I don't know if Gavin will ever tell you. I wasn't even sure I should write this. But you deserve to know. There's a chance Liam is yours. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry. I'm not asking for anything with no money, no drama. I just thought you should have the choice to be in his life, if it turns out to be true. Gavin agreed not to tell anyone. I was too scared to push. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Alyssa. I couldn't speak. Is it real? Liam asked quietly. I looked at the paternity acknowledgement. Gavin had signed it the month after Liam was born. The space for a biological father was filled with Gavin's name. No test. No proof. Just his word. I was 22 when Alyssa disappeared from my life. Now, standing across from a 15-year-old who might actually be my son, I felt like the air had been punched out of me. I don't know yet, I said. But thank you for showing me. He nodded slowly. I kind of always thought I was more like you than Dad. I gave a weak smile, then ruffled his hair. Let's not tell him you found this yet. He grinned. The deal. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on my balcony with a whiskey in hand, going over the timeline, the way Alyssa ghosted me back then, how Gavin conveniently started dating her weeks later, how she'd moved out of state without saying goodbye. Then I remembered something my mom knew Alyssa was pregnant. I called her. It was almost midnight, but she answered. Eric, what's wrong? I need to ask you something, and I want the truth. My voice was steel. Silence. Did you know there was a chance Liam was mine? Another silence. Then a sharp exhale. I hoped it wasn't true. Gavin told me it was nonsense, and you were struggling so much then, I thought it would break you. So you just let him claim my son? He didn't know he was your son, she said, defensive now. Neither did I, not really. But you knew enough to lie to me for 15 years. I hung up. My world wasn't just cracking. It was collapsing. The next morning, I bought a paternity test. Not a cheap one, a legal grade test that could be used in court if needed. And when I asked Liam if he'd do it with me, he didn't even hesitate. 2 weeks later, I got the call from the clinic. The nurse cleared her throat. Mr. Malone, the test confirms a 99.97% probability of paternity. I stood there in the hospital, still stunned. Liam wasn't my nephew. He was my son. And Gavin had known all along. The drive to Gavin's house felt longer than usual, or maybe my hands just couldn't stop shaking. I had the test results printed and sealed in a folder on a passenger seat. Liam didn't know I was going over. I told him I needed time to figure things out. But I wasn't going to figure it out. I was going to confront him. When he opened the door, Gavin looked smug. Like he'd won something. You here to talk about your stolen money again? He asked, leaning on the frame with that same arrogant smirk he wore in high school when he got away with things. No, I'm here to talk about my son. His face didn't change, but the way he straightened his back told me I'd struck a nerve. Don't play games, I said, stepping into the house. You knew Liam might be mine. You knew the moment Alyssa got pregnant. He laughed too quickly, too loudly. Jesus, Eric, you're losing it. I dropped the folder on the coffee table and flipped it open. Paternity test, I said. 99.97%. He's mine, Gavin, not yours. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. So I kept going. You let me believe he was your kid. You let him believe that. You kept the son from his father. Still nothing. Then, finally, I raised him, Gavin said, voice flat. I paid for school, doctor visits, baseball camp. You want to swoop in now and be Daddy of the Year? Where the hell were you 15 years ago? I didn't know, I said, teeth clenched. Because you lied. You both did. He sat down, rubbing his face. For the first time, he looked tired. Do you think it was easy for me? He muttered. She came to me, said she wasn't sure, wanted to disappear. I offered to take care of the kid. Make it simple. I was 24. What the hell did I know? But you still chose to keep it secret. From me, from Liam. He looked up. Because you don't deserve him. That cut deeper than anything else. You were the quiet one, the flaky one, the one who broke down after Dad yelled at you once. Do you think you could have handled fatherhood back then? Hell no. I clenched my fists. You don't get to make that decision. And yet I did, he snapped. I stood frozen, heart pounding. Every inch of me wanted to hit him for the money, for the lies, for stealing a child from his father. But I didn't. Instead, I said, Liam's going to find out, all of it, and when he does, you better pray he forgives you. I turned to leave, but Gavin called after me. Don't go running to court, you will just drag him through hell. I paused at the door. He deserves the truth, whether it hurts or not. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. A message from Liam. Dad's acting weird. Did you say something? Also, there's a safe in his closet. I think he's hiding more stuff. I stared at the screen. I thought the worst was behind me. I was wrong. I didn't want to involve Liam any further. He'd already found the letter. He took the paternity test. He knew something was off, but not the full truth. Not yet. But that text, there's a safe in his closet, it lit up a part of my brain I'd been ignoring. If Gavin had lied about Liam and about the inheritance, what else was he hiding? I called Liam. Listen, do not go poking around again, all right? This is serious stuff. He whispered, too late. I already opened it. There's cash, like, a lot, and a folder. It has your name on it. I pulled over on the shoulder of Greenback Lane and pressed the phone tighter. How much cash? I didn't count it, but it's a stack, big, and there's this signed paper from Dad's lawyer, something about a trust. Don't touch anything else, I said. I'm coming to get it now. He hesitated. What if he finds out? I'll deal with him. Just make sure the folder doesn't go anywhere. 30 minutes later, I met Liam in the back alley behind a strip mall. He handed me a manila folder taped shut. Inside, $12,000 in cash. The trust agreement signed by Dad and Samuel Greer, the family lawyer. A handwritten addendum dated 2 months before Dad died. The addendum changed everything. If either of my sons is found to have acted dishonestly regarding the estate or has hidden significant truths from the other, their share will be forfeited and reallocated. Eric is to be sole executor if such misconduct is proven. John Malone, June 3rd, 2019. My pulse roared in my ears. This wasn't just about inheritance anymore. Dad knew. Maybe not the full story, but he suspected Gavin was lying. He's left this paper trail hidden, yes, but there. The kicker? It had a small sticky note attached. Faded. Barely legible. If Gavin hides this, you'll know who he really is. I closed the folder and stared at Liam. Did you read any of this? He nodded slowly. Is it bad? I placed my hand on his shoulder. It's the truth. That's what matters. But what really destroyed me wasn't the trust. Or the money. It was a photo, tucked into the back pocket of the folder. Me and Alyssa from 2007. Her head on my shoulder. My hand on her stomach. A note scribbled on the back in familiar handwriting. He's yours. You were just too late to see it. I knew that handwriting. Mom's. My own mother had known from the start. I drove to her house that evening. She was in the garden, pruning roses like nothing had happened. You knew, I said, holding up the photo. You knew from the beginning, the test, the letter, the trust, you knew. She froze. I did what I thought was right, she said finally. You weren't ready, Eric, you were drinking. Failing classes, barely holding on. Gavin, he stepped up. He stepped in. He took everything, and you helped. She didn't deny it. I did what mothers do. I protected the one who could survive it. That sentence knocked the wind out of me. I looked her in the eye and said, I'm not just coming for him anymore. I'm coming for everything. And then she whispered, then you'd better be ready to lose us all. As I turned to leave, she added softly, there's one more thing you don't know, about Gavin's real reason for rushing the inheritance sale. I stopped. What? But she didn't answer. She just went back to pruning her roses. I didn't sleep that night. Mum's words played on loop in my head. There's one more thing you don't know, about Gavin's real reason for rushing the inheritance sale. I couldn't stop thinking about the cash in the safe. The 12 grand. Neatly stacked. Hidden away like hush money. What kind of man has $12,000 in cash tucked behind a locked safe in the same drawer where he hides paternity lies? The next morning, I drove back to Samuel Greer's office. If anyone knew what the hell was going on beneath all this, it was Dad's old lawyer. He looked tight when I walked in. I was hoping I wouldn't see you again, he said, gesturing me inside. I laid the trust addendum on his desk. You ever see this before? He put on his glasses. I scanned it, and his jaw tightened. I gave this to your father the day we signed the will. He said he wanted to leave a back door open, just in case. I told him to give each of you a copy. He looked up. So Gavin kept this from you? Not just this, I said, voice hoarse. William's mine. He blinked. Jesus Christ. There was a pause. Then I asked, what did Mom mean when she said Gavin had a reason to sell everything fast? Rhea sighed. Aaron came to me about a loan 6 weeks after your father died. Said he needed help paying off something urgent. I said no. What kind of loan? $85,000, he said flatly. To pay off gambling debt. I went cold. Greer continued. He didn't want you to know. He even tried to get me to write you out of the trust entirely. Said you were unstable. I couldn't breathe. Everything of the rush to sell the house, the cash in the safe, the way Mum always took his side, it all made sense now. He used Dad's death to cover his own ass. And he nearly got away with it. That night, I met Liam at the diner just off Highway 50. I told him everything. No more half-truths. No more protecting anyone. He sat across from me in stunned silence, a milkshake touch between his hands. So he lied about everything? He asked finally. I nodded. He was in deep with loan sharks, used Grandpa's money to bail himself out, lied about you, lied about the house, lied to everyone. Liam's eyes welled up. And Grandma knew? She helped him cover it. Maybe she thought she was doing the right thing. He didn't speak for a long time. Then, finally, he looked me straight in the eye. What do we do now? I slid a file across the table. We go to court. I've already filed for full parental rights and a formal claim against the estate. The trust gives me grounds to freeze the assets and reclaim everything Gavin took. But what about him? Liam whispered. I don't care if he ends up broke. I care about you knowing the truth. Liam wiped his eyes and nodded slowly. Then let's burn it down. I reached across the table, placed my hand on his. We're not burning it, we're rebuilding it, with truth. But truth hurts, and I wasn't prepared for what came next. Because the very next day, Gavin disappeared. No calls. No messages. No truck in the driveway. And on the kitchen counter of his house, police later found an envelope addressed to me. Inside was a single sentence. You win, but don't think that makes you innocent. The moment they saw Gavin's truck was gone and the blinds were drawn, I knew he wasn't coming back. The police ran a check. No signs of foul play. No accident reports. His phone was turned off, bank account empty the night before. He'd vanished. And all he left behind was that note. You win, but don't think that makes you innocent. I stared at it for hours, trying to understand what it meant. What did he mean, innocent? I hadn't lied. I hadn't stolen. I'd just exposed what was already there. But guilt has layers. And sometimes truth comes with a cost you don't realize until it's too late. 2 weeks later, the court sided with me. Trust addendum gave me full control of the estate. The forged waiver Gavin had filed was declared void. I reclaimed the house, liquidated what was left, and split the remainder of Dad's investments fairly, after me, half into a trust for Liam and my son. The final inheritance total was just under $210,000 after legal fees and property adjustments. I didn't touch a dollar of Liam's half. Mom didn't come to the hearing. She sent a single message afterward. Don't contact me again. It hit harder than I expected. That was the part no one tells you about justice. You think it'll feel like victory. But it feels more like standing in the ashes of a house that should have been home. I tried reaching out to her once more, a voicemail, telling her Liam deserved at least the truth from her. She never called back. Evan resurfaced nearly 2 months later in Reno. I got a call from a mutual friend who'd spotted him dealing cards at the casino under a different name. When I called the number he'd left me years ago, it rang once and went straight to voicemail. I didn't try again. He wasn't my brother anymore. Liam and I are rebuilding. He moved in with me last spring. The adjustment was hard, new routines, therapy appointments, emotional blow-ups neither of us were ready for. But he's learning. And so am I. At 2:47 a.m. last week, almost exactly 1 year after it all began, I found a note on my kitchen counter. Handwritten. Simple. Thanks for not lying to me, even when it sucked. L. He's 15. He doesn't say much. But that note meant everything. Sometimes, I still wonder if I should have kept my mouth shut. Let Gavin rot in his own guilt. Protected Liam from the truth. But then I remember something Dad once told me when I was 10, sitting on the roof of the house with a scraped knee and a bruised ego after a fight with Gavin. Justice doesn't fix everything, but it makes the mirror easier to face. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the quiet brother anymore. I see a father. And maybe that's all the justice I ever needed.